Seems good. Okay. We are all here.
Cheryl's online.
Cheryl's on Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is November 5th at 4:59. We are restarting the hearing for Nora Lake and Chris Polashensky. I apologize if I didn't pronounce that correctly.
Got it.
If you'll recall, at the first hearing, there was confusion about which parcel ID you were actually appealing, over 0.4 versus 0.3. I spent quite a bit of time going back and forth with the Vermont League of City and Towns about what our options are. And after a bunch of emails and some phone calls, one of our options is to make a motion to move forward, accepting that people are human and you made a clerical error, and to accept that what you intended was to appeal 0.4 versus 0.3, to be more specific, 05-095.300 versus 05-095.400. And so I would like to make a motion that we accept your clerical error and move forward with the appeal that you intended, which was for parcel ID 05-095.400.
Are you making a motion?
I'm making the motion. I've got what to say.
You second.
A second.
Dave, how do you feel about
No, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. May we have discussion before there is a vote?
that? You
It
can,
would be according to Robert's Rules of Order that we have discussion before the board votes.
what would you like to say, Pam?
I would like to say that, in a review of the recording, the chair introduced us as 300. Then the chair of the Board of Listers gave a synopsis as 05-095-300 as 742 Route 132. At that point in time, the appellant raised no issue with the fact that this was not the parcel that was being appealed. And there was no ambiguity in the document that was submitted by the appellant that they wished to appeal the parcel ending in 300. So I would say that I'm not sure that there is any statutory allowance or to even consider changing this. If you were in a court of law, the judge certainly would not allow you to hear a case of a different parcel than the one that was presented to him on the docket. So if you proceed with this, I'm hoping that this board will understand that the docket, the agenda for this was for the parcel ending in 300, and that's what I hope you will make this appeal hearing on. There's no ambiguity in the document that was submitted.
I would also add, that I think that your motion is totally inappropriate, because we collectively had not had a discussion at this table amongst all of us as to whether or not this is even legitimate.
Has anyone seen any of the exchanges with BLCT that you received via email? I know the listers have not seen it.
Lily has seen all of the emails. I don't have a recording of the phone conversation.
But the other members of this board have not seen them, so they have no idea what questions you asked and what answers you received. Because it's how you ask the question is that determines the answer that is asked.
I simply stated the facts as I knew them. And went back and forth several times with trying to iron out what exactly was, sorry, my pocket is. Explaining the facts as I knew them, and eventually the person on the other end said this would be much easier in a phone call, so we ended up on the phone.
Right, but if you tell the VLCT that the appellant only gave a parcel ID, which is a determining identifier for.
I think you need to trust that I stated the facts as I knew them, which is what Chris
the
did
address was given at the time.
Pam. Please trust that I gave them the facts, which is that what Chris presented was not his intention. Because I told them that he presented 3, you said you prepared for 3. When Chris had his turn at that hearing, he said, oh my God, what I meant was the other parcel. You know, I fully intended Kerwin Hill Road. I didn't intend 0.3. You had prepared for 0.3. And so I said, these are the facts as I know them. What are our alternatives moving forward? And what they said to me was that we have this option. You can disagree, Dave can disagree, everybody at this table can disagree, but I'm going to present what they presented to me, what was the option to accept that Chris made an error.
And the listers did request a copy of the email exchange that you had with the LCT, but we were not afforded a copy.
I'm not going to rehash this now. You're going to have to accept that I did what I thought was right, and that we've gone as far as we're going to go with this, and we're either going to move forward or we're not going to move forward. We'll either move forward with the other ID or we'll move forward with the first ID. Those are our choices at this point. And so I've made a motion and people do not have to accept the motion. Dave clearly doesn't. You're not on the sitting board.
Cheryl has her hand.
Cheryl would like to make a comment. Oh, can't hear you. Are you muted?
Yes. Unmute yourself.
Am
There
I
she
now?
is.
Can you now hear me?
We
Yes.
can hear you now.
Okay, so thank you, and I appreciate being able to join. There's a couple things I'd like to say, and that is the listers did present our position on the statutes and the deadline involved with this whole process, which everybody who wants to appeal a lister decision must comply with. And the only thing that was provided was the parcel ID number, as I said in the lister memo, or we said in the lister memo, and that's what went forward for 46 days. Most times when there's a clerical error, it's something that you can fix with the fact that, oh, I put it 030 or 040 instead of 400. We've got legitimate parcel ID numbers at stake here. There are 3 of them under their names. Well, 2 under Chris and Nora and 1 under Nora. But I want to say that that's how you proceed, and there's no statutory authority to change a document by an appellant. That just can't exist by the BCA. You're the legislative group weighing testimony, not trying to solve an appellant error. And I really urge you to think clearly on this, because as this memo says, we're a Dillon state. And if it doesn't say that you can do something in the statute, you cannot do that. And it's frustrating. I get it. And it's unfortunate. I get it. But it's been 46 days that we got to the hearing and nothing changed. The other point, other thing I have to say on behalf of the lister's work is that in researching the OPAV for the 300 parcel, it became evident to us that Suzanne has been working with the Vermont Land Trust for quite a long time and was highly involved in OPAV efforts and was at the Vermont Land Trust when the appellant put the easement onto their property, which makes it
Did you
evident.
ever work with me, Chris? No.
Let Cheryl finish.
I just, the appearance of a conflict of somebody sitting now on this particular matter, which is an OPAV matter, which is the Vermont Land Trust holds the documents, holds the authority over the sale when and if a sale were to occur, just did not seem like a good thing to have involved in this case, in the appellant case. So just want to bring that up to the BCA members.
May I speak now?
Cheryl, are you done?
Yes.
Suzanne?
I worked at the Vermont Land Trust for many years. I did not work in the legal department. I worked in the stewardship department. I showed people around the house way back when, 14 years ago at Sweetland Farm. I never met Chris and Nora at that time. I've been gone from the land trust since 2020. I understand OPAVs. I'm helping other people to understand OPAVs. And that's the extent of it, Cheryl. And I'm really angered that, that you bring this up.
Well, we all need to be careful of our,
And I was careful about it.
and it just appears
Cheryl,
to be
you said what you
conflict.
said,
Yep.
and we all heard you.
Okay.
Suzanne has said her piece. Pam has said her piece. Does anybody else have anything to add? Lily would like to say something.
My understanding is that these two parcels are also linked by a deed.
The other two, or there are three cards here.
The sum total of 4 cards, 3 ending in .300 and 1 ending in .400 were initially deeded to you from the land trust and then back to the land trust for your path, yes?
Correct.
So I don't know that that makes a difference. I don't know that it matters if they're all contained in one deed. And I don't know what the precedent is for that. But since they were deeded together, I wonder that they should not be evaluated together.
But that was not the request from the appellant.
I think Lily's point is, and I'm speaking for you, so I don't know that this is what you're trying to say, but whether or not they can be separated on appeal in the first place. If they're
Yes.
deeded together.
Well,
I'm
I
sorry,
would,
Cheryl.
sorry,
No, I just didn't know you wanted to speak. What have you?
sorry. I
Go
should raise my
ahead.
hand. If you go back to the listers process and the grievance process, we were given 3 parcel ID numbers that they wished to grieve. And that is how they are in the grand list. A deed does not make them, well, the deed, I want to make sure I say this correctly, but the encumbrance of OPAV is in the deeds. And that's a voluntary encumbrance to do that. But the parcels exist, and that's in our packet, the most recent one as well, to show they're distinct parcels. They are not contiguous. And while they may sell together, well, or not, the Vermont Land Trust has the control over who ends up getting to buy. They're different parcels and they have different parcel ID numbers, succinct, and they have always in the grand list.
Clarify for me, the difference between those parcels and say, the Kaufmans or the Aquilas, or there may be others in town I'm just not aware of, where there are multiple property cards, but one parcel ID.
Yes.
You see what I'm
That-
saying? Can you just
yes.
clarify that?
Yes, yes. And so it goes back to some of the conversations we've had previously at hearings where if you own a parcel and you buy your neighbor's parcel and you're contiguous, that becomes a parcel that gets closed and it becomes a card 2 on your parcel because you own them both. It's the same ownership, but they're also contiguous. In the case here, these are non-contiguous parcels. And so they can't be put under another card, like the 3 cards that we have in 300. The parcel 400 is not contiguous in any way with the 300. So you bring,
Yeah. Sorry, Cheryl, you can't see Chris. He says they are connected by a legal right of way. But that goes through another person's property. If I understand that correctly.
And so when you have 3 different lots that are contiguous, they would each have their own card because they could be sold separately. Except in this case, cards 1 and 3 are under the encumbrance, card 2 is not. But they're contiguous, they're all owned by the same person, and so you have 3 lots on 300. 400 has 1 lot, so therefore it has 1 card and 1 structure. So Cheryl is correct in that these are not, because there's an OPAB deed that says they have to be sold together, does not make them joined together in terms of the grand list. They are separate parcels in the Norwich grand list. So
always
therefore,
have been.
and always have been, correct. So, for purposes of this hearing, to say that they're deeded together, yes, they are deeded together under OPAB, so they have to be sold together. They're still separate parcels with separate parcel IDs.
And
Because they are not contiguous.
Correct.
so it's important to know which parcel ID that you're speaking of when referencing something, and that is how the town has recorded them, and that's why it's important to use the proper parcel ID number.
They did grieve all parcel ID numbers, is that correct?
That's correct. I
And
have that.
initially, each of
Yeah.
the parcel IDs were identified on a grievance document. We've met and held grievance hearings on all the 3. And from that, only 1 appeal came forward.
Jed, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to get clarification. So the initial appeal, I'm looking at here, it's a document that says appellate packet update. Is this what we were given at the start?
No, the first appellant packet was just,
It was a 1-page memo.
Okay. So the thing here, so the document I'm looking at here that's updated, it mentions 97 Kerwin Hill Road. It talks about the property that, which is 0.400. But we did not have this information.
we had the appeal for property at 97 Kerwin Hill Road, Norwich, Vermont, with the wrong parcel ID.
Right, so.
So it did say 97 Kerwin Hill Road, but it said 3 instead of 4.
And so it's the opinion of the listeners that it doesn't matter if the right address was there, what matters is the ID number.
This document came to you 2 days before the hearing. It
Yeah.
did not come to
Yeah.
you by the statutory deadline.
Right, but the email that Elise was just referencing.
Now,
The email that was initially sent as the appeal
Yeah.
referenced only a parcel number, and it was the incorrect parcel
Yeah.
number.
It didn't have the address attached.
Well, you could say it was a.
It was a parcel
It
number,
was the one.
it was
Then
300.
my second question is there anything from the listeners about the ID that ends with 400?
No, because we were under the impression that the appeal was on 300.
Okay.
Right.
Which
So-
makes, like, how.
So at the end of that hearing, because things got quite heated.
Yeah.
I said, let's pause this. And I will get in touch with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns and find out what our path forward is. And as I've stated before, emails went back and forth where I tried to explain what was happening. And then I ended up on the phone with one of the VLCT lawyers and, the explanation I was given is that it is within our purview to say that there was a clerical error and that we can accept that.
But we don't have anything from the listers about 100.
It's an assumption, though, is my concern. You're making an assumption that they wanted to have, and I'm saying this maybe out of turn, but that each one of these individual parcel ID numbers should be what the appellant was appealing, not just the individual 400 that has become the issue.
I think that Chris was quite clear at the first hearing. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
I'm under oath, I can say, I guess I'm not technically, but I'm happy to do it.
Right.
You did it the first time and we consider it to follow
I
through.
made a mistake, I intended to breed the upper parcel, which is the 400 at 97 Kerwin Hill Road. The other two parcels were changed by the listers during the grievance process. This one was not. It's just the remaining one that was not. You can also see logically why I would be intending to breed the one that they didn't change. The other two we got changed.
I'm sorry, let me clarify. What you're saying is you grieved the other ones and they made changes based on your grievances to some, but didn't make changes.
To the one that I
At point
intended to
four.
breed, which is 0.400, which is 97 Kerwin Hill Road.
Right.
And so, whatever you guys do, at least let's, I hope, accept that, hey, I made a mistake. It was an honest mistake. I intended to do anything by that.
My point being, Dave, that I don't think we're assuming at this point, because in the previous hearing, Chris tried to clarify that he had made a mistake and he meant 0.4, not 0.3. So I'm not making an assumption that
Well,
that's what his
Yeah.
intention was.
No, but you're making an assumption that what he was saying was correct.
But he showed up prepared to talk about 97 Kerwin.
And his
Right.
document that he sent 2 days before says 0.3 with the right address with wrong parcel number. So I think in good faith, if we assume that we're all doing the best that we can.
But we
Then he-
still don't have the statutory authority to change the number. That's the problem.
That is your standing. But if the VLCT said to me that it is within our authority to accept a clerical error on the appellant's part, and I am not a lawyer,
I'm hearing.
so, you know, I'm not gonna quote statute for you because I'm not a lawyer. I'm just gonna go with what I've been told. Excuse me, go ahead, Pam.
Okay, so we didn't learn that there was a clerical error until 46 days after the statutory deadline.
I understand that.
Okay, and when the hearing began, if you go back and listen to the recording,
Mhm,
you introduced it as 300.
mhm.
Cheryl introduced 300 as 742 Route 132, and at no point in time did the appellant say,
I
well,
wasn't allowed to talk. It wasn't.
that's
Chris, hold
not-
on just a sec,
that's-
let her finish, please.
that's not the address that I'm here to appeal. It was quite a ways into the discussion before it was noted that there was a clerical error.
Because that's how it works, Pam. Like, first I say what I say, then you guys introduce the property, then the appellant gets to speak. So when Chris had the chance to speak, he tried to correct his error.
He spoke for quite some time before he corrected his error, and what I'm saying is, at no point in time did he say, wait, 742, 132, that's not the parcel I'm here to appeal. I'm here to appeal 97 Kerwin Hill Road, maybe I have the wrong parcel ID, but we were well into the discussion before that was ever said. So the fact that there was no objection at the outset is part of the reason that the listers feel that this is not appropriate to make this change at this time. And as Jed noted, the listers have not had an opportunity to present any evidence about 400.
Suzanne?
You've had 2 to 3 weeks since the last meeting till we get till this to prepare for whatever the number is for the Kerwin Hill Road parcel. And so you know that we were gonna come back together, so you could have prepared for that. So I don't understand what the problem is.
Why would we prepare for something that we feel that the board has no authority to change?
Because, no, that answer.
Regardless of, we have a lot of differing opinions here. And I think we are all doing the best we know how to do. Everybody sitting at this table is a volunteer. And I'm trying to do the right thing, obviously. I'm not trying to mislead anybody or steer anybody in a direction that they don't want to go. I'm simply presenting to you what the VLCT said that I was allowed to present. And so Cheryl has objected, you have objected, Dave has objected. I'm going to end the discussion and move forward with whether or not the board feels they want to move ahead with the motion to accept the error. And I'll leave it to the rest of the board.
I think it's fair and reasonable to vote yes on the motion.
Let's begin at the beginning, which is to make a motion in the first place to accept the clerical
I
error.
make a,
Can I make one more question?
One.
I'm not sure how we'll move ahead if we don't have anything from the listers about what will we be discussing? Is that a process that does a process exist for this process when the listers have given nothing for the property?
The other thing that we need to remember is that the presumption of the listers being correct is one thing we've been advised to remember.
What does that mean?
Well, that there's a presumption that the listers are correct.
I would
think
say
there's
that,
On house matters, not on legal.
yeah, I think there's a
Right.
presumption that they are correct in coming up with the assessed valuation.
Right.
The question really, to me, I mean, this is just a personal subjective opinion on my part, is that what is the downside to changing the way the parcel is viewed?
Because we're stepping out of statute.
Would it materially change the assessed valuation?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, perhaps that could be an impediment to this, to moving forward or not. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out.
If we do decide to move with this, is the idea that we would meet again at a later date to actually do it?
no.
No.
Suzanne, made an accurate point that, at the last hearing, I adjourned it, to try and get further information, to figure out whether or not we could move forward. And, we have known since that point in time that it could be one, it could be the other. We made the error at the beginning of inspecting Kerwin Hill and realized today that we hadn't inspected 132.
Right.
So we went out and inspected 132 today so that we could deliberate on either parcel because we had a site inspection for both.
Right.
So that's where we're coming from. Pam, you have one more thing to say.
I do have one more, that's actually a question. I was asked why we didn't prepare for 400. At no point in time were the listers informed that you plan to come here to present a motion to consider 400. So why would we prepare? The last we knew this was on hold until you got advice from VLCT, and we were not given the advice.
I have an
So-
email from you specifically, speaking to, just a second. Bum, 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 bum. So on the 22nd of October, I told the listers and Lily and Sweetland Farm that the VLCT had said that I could make a motion. And you asked, what if the motion fails?
Isn't that inappropriate without?
Could you be called on before you speak, please? Let's just let each other finish. And then you had opinions about whether that was something we should do or not do. So you have all known since the 22nd that it could be the other property or this one. Because one of your things that you said was, well, one of your options is to move forward with the original parcel if the motion fails. It started with an email from me to you all on the 21st, if you're looking for the email, Pam.
Yeah.
Dave, what was your point?
I'm sorry, I think it's a shame all around. I think if, I think it's, there are a lot of things that went wrong in the process of all of this. It should have, in my view, it should have been stopped right when we found out that he claimed that he was making an appeal for a different parcel number. It should have ended right there.
To clarify, we have to hear either 300 or 400. We can't deny the appeal.
I understand.
So we can't shut it down.
Understand we
Or
can't.
the appellant can withdraw.
Or
Yeah.
the appellant can withdraw.
Right.
But we can't, say we won't hear it if Chris wants us to hear it. The only question for me is, A, will we go through the motion? And B, where that motion puts us, and then we decide from there. And so again, the question would be where we stand with the motion.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Cheryl.
So in a couple years past, when there was a concern by the BCA regarding a matter that was needing to be resolved, because VLCT does not ever give an opinion, a legal opinion, to a municipality, they give guidance, and they are not all experienced that work in that municipal legal group over there. We went and asked town council to help out, who would give a legal opinion. And I'm just wondering if that isn't a better option, because again, there is no statutory authority. Once someone appeals on the due date for an appeal, there's no statutory authority to change that. And to couch it as a clerical error, we had someone else wanting to appeal who never grieved, and you held them to the same standards. No, you cannot appeal because you didn't grieve. So there are statutory reasons to consider maybe having town council assist.
These guys did grieve. So they have the right to appeal. I understand the number is in question. And I'm still in the same position that I was previously. I want to end the discussion. We're at 5:30 at this point. And I will leave it to the board to decide what they want to do moving forward.
May I ask one question?
Yes.
before? What kind of an imposition would passing this motion place on the listers? In other words, would this create a tremendous problem with your assessed valuation? What is the problem that, other than the parcel number issue, would this create some other type of problem that you're basically objecting to doing that, bring up? I'm just curious.
I think you set a precedent for not adhering strictly to the letter of the law. And you've held other appellants to the letter of the law. And to set a different standard for a different appellant, I think is a dangerous precedent.
I would also say, to the other point, we have not done any preparation on this parcel. And while it may seem like we were working on other stuff in our office and did not anticipate that this would be a change, because I again do not find where you have the authority to do it, and I don't believe that VLCT has advised you properly. They won't give you an opinion. They will not write it down and legally give it to you, whereas our town attorney would do that, and we would all accept it.
Does anybody else have something that they care to say? No? The alternatives, from what I'm understanding, and I don't know timing wise, if we even have the time, is to recess again and consult the town attorney, or to take the motion and move forward. Do you have an opinion, Jed?
I would love to recess if it makes feasible sense, because I personally don't even know what I would vote. On this. At this point, there's too many unknowns.
How does that work? And Bob, how do you feel?
My inclination is to go with the motion, but this seems to be revolving around potentially a legal issue. And you really, I guess, the bottom line is you really want to have your T's crossed and your I's dotted. So the suggestion to have the town attorney review it seems like a reasonable one.
Well, what's the schedule?
So if we move to recess this in order to talk to the town attorney, what I would recommend is that we read the site inspection reports into the record now, so that we have fulfilled the requirement of having them done within 30 days of the initial hearing. It doesn't say anything.
Right, about recessing the
Statute
second
about
time.
recessing again. It just says that you have to have the site inspections.
Do you want to read the site
in.
inspections into the record?
I can certainly do that. And then I don't know. I think we would probably have to abide by a 15-day limit to get,
Yeah.
the recess unpaused and get a decision out to the appellant.
Yes, Chris.
Just seems like this has created an unnecessary amount of animosity. I'm pissed at the listers because they jumped down my throat for a mistake. When they've been recessed, they got an extra year extension. They don't have, and they admit in the packet that they sent that they don't have any expertise for dealing with OPEB properties whatsoever. They just pick a number out of the air, and then they get to jump down my throat about this. So I'm upset. But just the same, you guys are all volunteering your time. I'm just gonna withdraw the appeal and come back next year.
Don't think you can withdraw it now.
Yeah.
What you could say is, we can hear an appeal on 300. Sorry, wait, what did you start with? 300?
Well, I don't want an appeal on 3.
I understand that, but we're all prepared to deal with that.
I thought until we deliberated, they could withdraw.
Oh, sure.
Perhaps this is another question for the town attorney, but I would just like to say that I'm very sorry that you feel that there's some kind of animosity.
What are we looking at?
I have no personal stake in this. I see this as strictly a business transaction, and I'm trying to follow the letter of the law. And
Why was
The
her
listers-
integrity impunged?
no,
Why is my
no, the
intent
question was
impunged?
raised. the
That's
question-
beyond unnecessary.
The question was raised, would it be appropriate for her to consider recusal? She said no, and that's the end of it. This is not anything in here. Not by the listers, and certainly not by anything that I've heard coming from the Board of Civil Authority. This is us trying to navigate statute. And the statute says that you have until 14 days after you receive the result of grievance letter to appeal to the BCA. You appealed 300. And the question is there a statutory authority for the BCA to consider a different
Go back to
parcel ID, a different parcel than the one that you submitted by the
Anytime before
statutory
the-
deadline? And
Is this an extension? of
the
the meeting?
listers
We're
don't
already
think
hearing it.
that is something that's allowable, but
Okay,
as Cheryl suggested, maybe the town attorney could help clarify that. So
Chris,
again,
what we
I
could do-
apologize if anyone has taken any kind of personal affront from this, none was intended.
on anyone's part, I don't imagine.
No,
Um, What we can do, Chris, is we'll move forward with the appeal on 300. And, oh boy, this is such a mess. Because you have to withdraw your appeal from what we're reading online,
Let's move forward with 300.
before the appeal starts.
Let's go. 300.
Can I,
Then you can still,
Recessing off the table?
what's that?
Is recessing off the table to try to figure out?
I think just because we don't know that, we should go forward with this,
that is an unknown timeline.
Okay.
because you have to start the appeal, you have to do the site inspection, you have to hear the second appeal, you have to get the decision out within these certain timeframes. Let's read the inspections and record.
Okay, on November 5th, let's see. The site inspection of parcel 05-095.300 was made on Wednesday, November 5th at 11:15 a.m. The inspection committee was accompanied by Nora Lake. There were no listers present. The inspection committee was comprised of Alix, me, and Bob. Number 1, card 1 of 3. This card contains a contemporary style dwelling consisting of 2 units, with each unit containing 2 bedrooms, an open living dining kitchen area, and a full bath. There is a common area that includes a mudroom and a stairwell. Flooring is laminate in the living areas and concrete in the basement. The basement is unfinished and contains stairs leading to a bulkhead. The associated outbuildings consist of greenhouses, 5, a 2-story barn with lean-to, and a pole barn. The pole barn appears to be under construction and contains 14 bays, 2 of which appear to be partially finished with the potential for full finishing and use as office space. There are 56.44 acres associated with this card. Card 2 of 3. This card contains the farm store and office space. This building is a 1.5-story structure with a wood exterior and a mixture of plywood and concrete flooring. The store is on the 1st floor, and the half-story contains an office and heated storage. There is a work sink and a 3/4 bath. Outbuildings consist of a walk-in cooler on the loading dock to the rear of the building. There are 69.5 acres associated with this card. Card 3 of 3. This card contains no buildings and 32 acres of land. The land is a mix of agricultural land, open field, and forest.
Mistake. The farm office isn't on the 69.5 acres. Listers made a mistake. Also, the comparable that I presented, more seriously now, I'll get over my upsetness, sorry about that. Is the comparable I presented in the packet is perfectly valid comparable because our property can only be sold as a whole. The entirety can only be sold together, therefore the comparable is comparable to the entirety of the two, and you have to come up with a valuation, I feel, for the whole, and then apportion it appropriately to the pieces. And so, the comparable, is in Stratford, it sold in 2022 for $800 and some odd thousand, and, really sorry.
You go ahead, Chris, she'll ask you a question when you're done.
And that, property, is comparable to the entirety of, Sweetland Farm Holdings. If you add up all of the different cards together, we get to around 2.2 million is our current assessed value. That sold for $825,000 under an OPAP. I think that's excellent evidence that our assessment is about too high by about a factor of 2. And I also know with some of the other things that I presented was that this would be the single most expensive OPAP sale ever in the state of Vermont, to the best of my knowledge, by quite a large margin, if our assessment was true. I think our farm is very special, but I don't think it is comparable in value to some of the large orchards, for example, that have sold or things like that. We don't really have that big a business to support it. I think that OPAPs really make it so that the sale price has to be supportable by the income one can earn off of the piece of property. And therefore, I think card 300 in its entirety is overvalued by about a factor of 2. I don't care, because it's all under current use, and the current use program actually sets the tax rate on everything, and so the assessment value of parcel 300 makes no difference to me.
Lily, you had a question?
Are the entire, you have, what, 157 acres between the three?
Yes.
Are they all under the OPAV, or is it just the part that came?
69.5 is not under the OPAV, and the comparable also has about 70 acres that is not protected under the OPAV. That could be sold separately. That piece alone is assessed at just under $700,000 for 69 acres. There's 110 acres at the top of Bradley Hill Road right now for sale for $450,000. It's been on the market for 3 months. That also has too steep of an access to be able to access the property. It's both down 12% grade, so you couldn't legally put in a driveway unless you got a variance to do it. And has 25 feet of road frontage, which is below the 35-foot minimum for being developable. So it also has a bunch of swamp on it, so I think it's pretty overvalued as well.
This is the 67.5.
69.
and
60.
That's the follow-up.
Sorry, yeah. Lily's got another question for you.
I think it's actually a lister question, which is all three of those combined cards have their own site acre, even though there's only a building, a dwelling on one, well, two of them, but I think the 69.5 acres need to be separated from the farm store because the farm store is on the same acreage as the labor housing, correct?
Yes, and to that point, through a discussion that you and I had today, looking at a survey map, we're trying to understand the land. I did come to the conclusion that the farm store should be on its own card, should not be associated with the 69.5 acres, and the listers are happy to make that correction. I would like to know, though, I recall at the grievance hearing, we were told that the 69.5 acres is not under the OPAV agreement, is that correct?
Correct, I just said.
Okay, so if we take card one, which is valued at $538,800,
Just to be clear, Pam, is that the card with the labor building on it, the store?
the workforce housing
Okay,
and the land, 56.44 acres, is valued at $538,800. Then on card two, we take just the value of the farm store, which is $159,800. On card three, we take the value of the land that's there, which is $167,500. That gives us $836,100. Then if we add 400, which is 97 Kerwin Hill Road, which is also part of this OPAV, then that's $447,000. When we add that to 300, we get $1,283,100.
And
So
the comparable also has 69 or 70 some acres that is not under its OPAV. So that is also to be added to the total to be comparable to the comparable.
Did you get the 69.5 acres separately on their own card?
I have not done that yet.
Okay.
Because you and I just spoke about that just before this meeting when you were, and I were trying to sort out the acres from where they were.
And we have acreage in Bedford that would have
Yeah,
to be.
right.
But that's not on the Norwich card.
Pam,
So
I'm just trying to clarify, if you move forward with the 69.5 being a separate card,
yes, but it will still be a part of 300
300,
because
yeah.
it's contiguous.
I understand that. So there would be 4 cards, so it would be that one, the farm store would just have the site acre.
The farm store would not have
No
any
land.
land because it's on the 56.44 acres.
With the labor house.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be moved onto that card, or it would still be its own card?
It's
but
own card
considered-
because you have to be able to sketch it.
Okay. So, but it wouldn't have any acreage.
It would have no acreage. It would be the farm store standalone as the only item on the card.
And by
Ma'am.
doing that, it takes away that $140,000 site acre.
No,
No,
No.
that's gonna stay on the 69.5 acres on its own card. Because each lot has the
Parcel,
potential
yep.
to be developed.
it's a separate parcel. It can be sold separately, so it has a site assessment attached to it. 2-acre site assessment. But the building can be, the building can move over to its own card.
So you're just taking the acreage off that card and leaving the remainder.
Well, that would be one way. We could go either way. We
Yes,
could
yes,
leave
I
the
would-
acres.
That would be the sensible way to do it, because card one would be the workforce housing,
housing.
6.44 acres. Card two would be just the farm store. Card three would be the 32 acres. Card four, which is not encumbered, would be the last card with the 69.5 acres. So if you would add together cards 1, 2, and 3, which I did, came out to 836.1. Then you add the, parcel 400, which is valued at $447,000. Everything under the OPAB agreement is assessed at $1,283,100.
And I would add that you'd have to also add the acreage in Thetford, which cannot be sold separately to get the total sale price for the comparable, because the comparable also has an acreage that is equivalent to ours with the Thetford acreage, not without.
Right, but
And
we
you'd also have
can't
to add
assess, we can't assess that.
I know you can't assess it, but you can use it to determine a valuation.
I don't know what land is worth in Thetford, so I can't do that, but maybe they can find that out, if that's something.
It has an assessed value that we all can look up, and add to it, which is what I did.
Okay, well,
And then the 69.5, again, the comparable has 70 some acres that are not encumbered as part of that property. That also needs to be added to your total before you can compare it to the comparable, because the comparable has 70 some acres that are a separate lot, that are not encumbered, that are also part of the comparable sale.
can you sell this to someone other than a farmer?
The 69 acres,
All of it?
yeah,
Can
no,
you
the
sell-
rest of it, no. The 69.5
You
acres,
could get permission from the Vermont Land Trust to do that.
you're asking about a ridiculous counterfactual at that point. They're a nonprofit organization that has a mission statement to never do that. Realistically, that's not gonna happen.
What you guys have is, at this point, Berwin Hill, that card.
Yes,
You'll eventually have 4 other cards, 1 parcel ID, right? And one of those cards is not in OPAB.
that's correct.
Okay, your comparable property,
Does have exactly that still.
are there extra acres in their OPAB or separate?
They have a comparable amount of acreage that is not in the OPEB, that is separate, that is therefore, I would say, very similar to our property in its configuration.
Other questions? Cheryl's hand is raised.
So I just want to remind you all that we went through a town-wide reappraisal and land values have moved to the 2025 levels. Building costs have moved into the 2025 building cost tables. So even though you've heard multiple times, I've done nothing to my structure. Why did it go up a certain amount? Just a reminder that that's what a reappraisal impact has. We also don't assess the same as every other town in Vermont. When we do our assessments in Norwich, we follow that which we do in Norwich, and other towns assess differently. And I want to make sure that we're not mixing apples and oranges when we look at a total value. So again, a caution about how one town values land versus another town. And we need to follow Norwich land tables and assessment process.
Just note that the process here was to use all of those land tables and then apply what I would call an arbitrary deduction of 50% of the valuation, or some other even round number of the valuation to arrive at the OPAB value. I believe that does not meet the statutory responsibility of the listers to give us a fair valuation. A comparable sale is required to do that. I don't know where that 50% number came from. It does not appear to me to be supported by any underlying basis. There is in fact in the record documentation from the town's paid assessor KRT saying that they do not have any expertise whatsoever. And he indeed, in one at the thing, admitted that it was an arbitrarily
So what 50% are you referring to?
On the,
Okay.
card,
All right, so when
the depreciation.
when we held the grievance hearing, the first card had these restrictions, reductions, 85 on the first 2 acres and 50% on all remaining acres. There were no, reductions on card 3 on those 32 acres. As a result of grievance, we did add those, restrictions and reduce the value of the land considerably, by putting on these reductions. So
What was the percentage of the reduction that you put on there?
85% on the first 2 acres and
And 50 on
50% on the 30, and that was a continuation of what was done from the first, settlement.
And my argument is that those numbers do seem to be awfully even and round and just like they were sort of made up.
So,
They were put on by, the first, that's the reappraisal firm,
right. It was a
when you say-
result, yeah, it was a result of the settlement, Chris, at the time of the appeal to the state. It had to be dealt with. A number was derived, and Krajewski, who was the appraiser at the time, came to that number, and that's where it sat for 9 years. No one's touched it. No one's mixed anything up with it. And it's time, really, I totally agree with you that it's time to get a better understanding of how to best assess an OPAV farm. And we did get a list. Pam, I don't know if you brought it, but there is, what was it? Wasn't there one that sold for 8 million?
almost 9.
Yeah, so we have some of that information we can pass along. There's a list of OPAV properties that have sold, and that one was up by the Canadian border.
Packet, do you have some evidence that's?
Cheryl, are you saying that, when this all got rehashed, I don't know how many years ago?
20, well, the
16.
last reappraisal was 2016, but I think this was a 2013 reappraisal.
But didn't get resolved until
Yes.
late 15 or early 16, I can't remember.
Okay, so at that time, whenever that was, this 85 and 50 was put on there, or just the 85?
It was put on card 1, but it was not put on card 3, because I think card 3, that land was acquired at a later date.
I'm just saying that those numbers,
Yes,
the
yes.
85 and the 50, came
Yes.
about in 15 or 16, or whenever
Yes.
this finally got
And it
resolved.
was on card 1 because that was the only
Okay.
land that existed
Okay.
at that point.
Lily's got a question.
Could we enter that list of OPAV properties into evidence so that we can all see it as we deliberate?
Yes, Pam has it at the office.
Yeah,
Okay,
somewhere.
okay, I can make copies.
Yep. I could, yep.
And we should give it to Chris as well.
And I should have a chance to respond to it if it's part
It's
of it.
it's a list of, properties that were, sold under OPAV agreements over the last 5 years. And it came from someone in another town. Cheryl put out an appeal to, the listers listserv and got this response, and it didn't come for a couple of weeks. I thought I had it here, but I'm not seeing it.
Okay.
in my
No,
packet.
I wouldn't be just saying I have something, I swear it's someplace else. I'll give it to you later. I would be getting jumped on right now, I gotta say.
No, I got it. I got it.
You are welcome to put more evidence into evidence too.
Do you mind making copies of that?
Nope, I'm on it.
Elizabeth, I'm sorry we're running late.
Can I go and come back? I'm going to come back in like 15 minutes. I just.
Sure,
Okay.
thank you.
Got it.
He was
I-
due to be heard 15 minutes ago.
I think a final comment I'd like to make is that I'm really looking forward to straightening out something that Chris will agree to and understand. I think that that's the goal. And I, unfortunately, with the reappraisal firm not willing to help on this, they gave us the land tables, the building costs, but they had no expertise. That's why I reached out to all the listers in Vermont to get any assistance we could in reviewing how others assess an OPAV easement. And it's my understanding, Chris, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Vermont Land Trust has to be notified of a sale immediately, or they have the right of first refusal. And that they can step up and purchase your farm if you wish to sell it in the open market. The Vermont Land Trust has the right of first refusal to buy it and keep it at a lower value. That's what I've read, and that unless it's to a family member, and they define family member in the documents I've read. And it includes not just like an individual, but it could be an LLC or someone involved that's a family member with an LLC, et cetera. So there's some interesting pieces to the OPAV easements and understanding. And if I'm wrong in what I've just said,
It's straightforward. If the Vermont land, if you want to sell it, you have to tell the Vermont Land Trust. If the person is a farmer, that is, they earn half of their income from the business of farming as defined by the IRS, they can buy it at any price they want to. They have to have earned half of their income from the business of farming and have a plan to use the farm as an agricultural farm and continue to make more than half of their income from the business of farming.
yep, I'm not questioning any of those definitions. I'm questioning I was just bringing forward the process of what has to happen. So it's the Vermont Land Trust. If it's a legit farmer and the Vermont Land Trust steps aside, it can be done. And then if not, and the Vermont Land Trust, and if you wish to go out to the open market and sell, Vermont Land Trust has to have the right of first refusal to keep it as an OPAV, but they can opt not to.
They could, in practice, they do not, because they have the ability to buy it at its lower agricultural value, which is their mission statement, which is to prevent it from being sold at a higher price. Literally, you think about what their agreement is. I can try to sell it to someone for more than that value. They have the ability to buy it for less and resell it to somebody else at that lower value. They do exercise the value. They have exercised the option to purchase agricultural value on many properties. It is something that, yes, there's the remote possibility that they could, as an organization, fail in their mission, step aside and let it go to somebody else. I don't think that is a realistic possibility. We are supposed to be assessing the property based on what its most likely sale price is. And I think the most likely scenario is the one that is intended and is the responsibility of the nonprofit organization under its mission to maintain.
And Chris, can you speak to the idea of selling it to a family member?
Yes, you can sell it to a member of your family.
At what value?
Whatever value you choose to.
Okay,
Could
so
it
it
be
doesn't,
more than the Vermont Land Trust would pay?
It could be. The sale and passing it between members of the family is exempted.
Okay.
Could be $1.
It could be.
be $1.
I just want to add that we did not learn until well into the process that KRT was not prepared to value based on the OPAV, and so there was no opportunity to go out and find. We had to do the Great River Hydro, get an expert. Maybe we could have done this with the OPAV, but we didn't learn until too late in the process that they weren't feeling qualified to do this, or that they even knew that there was an OPAV. So.
You couldn't have done it at the grievance process?
No. Because we have 1 week to get an answer to you in the grievance process. So, that's why there was no official consulting firm brought in to come up with a value. You gave us a value at grievance that you thought, was a fair value, but, you know, it's not like an appraisal from a consulting firm, so.
Yeah, and we did have, the last time we did that, it was quite expensive. The towns paid some $5,000 for an appraisal, and we paid some $5,000 for an appraisal, and they basically agreed. And we're a lot less than what the town tried to assess us at.
Probably a lot more now.
So it's a very costly process.
Yeah, so anyway, yeah,
Okay,
I just wanted to say that's why the consulting firm was not brought in, was because we didn't understand. during this
Okay.
process, so that would be something that should probably be done.
And, you know, I can hear that. And I also know how long it takes to get these things, so I get that. I do feel like that puts a pretty big burden on us to go get our own to try to rebut it, and maybe the town really ought to have credible expertise in some way in this process.
Well, they have to be.
We have
hired
fellow
out.
listers. We'll reach out to property, well, you know, anyway, an easement is something that's
Sure.
handled differently by all towns. End of discussion. I'm gonna wrap up. I'm gonna go.
Chris, what you grieved and the prices that you gave to the listers, is that part of this package that you gave to us as well?
Yes, so the package, even though I gave it for 97 Kerwin, the
Right.
comparable is comparable to
Right,
the whole, so you can use the same comparable with.
Gotcha. Okay. Other questions from this side of the room? Okay. At 6:05 on the 5th of November, we are gonna move to deliberate. You should hear within 15 days via mail, well, we're gonna mail something, I should say, within 15 days, giving you our decision. And, I'll thank everybody for their patience. And let's move on. Thanks, Chris.
Alix, would you like to coordinate the town council discussion as chair with me as chair of the listers, or how do you want to proceed?
I don't think we're gonna have a town council conversation because we're going through with the appeal on .300.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. Forget it. Bad question.
And I would
Okay.
just like to thank everyone and just reiterate, no hard feelings for us. This was not personal, this was a business transaction, trying to follow the letter of the law. And, I know it got a little contentious at times, but I hope that we can leave here and, you know, not have any hard feelings about what was said or done as a function of this process.
Okay,
Thank you.
we'll call it a wrap.
All right, everyone.
You,
Pam, I'm
Cheryl, are
leaving.
you coming back in for a look down? Here we go.
okay.
Let me know when you're ready.
I am ready.
Okay, at 6:07 on 11 November 5th, we are reopening the hearing for Elizabeth Wilson. And if you will bear with me one moment, that is concerning parcel number 15-055.011. This is. Yes, no. Wilson. Bob, would you like to present the site inspection for the Wilson property?
I'll read this out loud, correct?
Yes, please.
Okay. The inspection of the property for parcel ID 15-055-011, address 40 Norwich Meadows, Unit 11. The inspection was made on Thursday, October 23rd at 4 p.m. Elizabeth Wilson accompanied the inspectors, and no listers were present. Subject property is one of two middle units at 40 Norwich Meadows and is described as a condominium or townhouse. Property is a wood frame unit built on a slab with no basement and 2 stories with a partially finished attic. The main floor on the entry level is finished with wood laminate. The main floor contains a kitchen, dining area, living room, and a half bath. The stairs to the second floor are carpeted. The second floor contains 2 bedrooms, both carpeted, and 1 full bath. The third floor contains a finished carpeted attic room accessed by a stairway. The third floor also has an unfinished storage area. There are 2 mini split heat pumps in the rear of the building. The roof is a gable style with asphalt shingles. There is an outdoor wooden deck accessed by a sliding glass door from the dining room that overlooks the back property of the condominium complex. Next to the condo is a 12 by 24 foot carport that accommodates 1 car.
Thank you, Bob. Does anybody on the BCA have further questions for Elizabeth or Pam? Take that as a no.
Well, I had a couple of questions and I'm not sure the listeners will be able to respond, but. I noticed on the lister packet that you had a $61,000 reduction. Before the BCA appeal. Do you remember exactly what the rationale was for those reductions?
I don't have my card with me that has the notes for that, but my guess is that we probably changed the grade on some of these. With the baths or the kitchen or the general information grade appreciation. I see there's a functional depreciation of 15%. I don't know when that was added, if that was on the 4 or if it was some, looks like it might be something we added. But I'm not sure. We don't have a list of exactly what we did.
Looks like you want to check the next one. Elizabeth, do you have something to add?
I have a correction. There's actually 4 inside units. There's one in our building and there's one in the other building that are exactly the same square footage. And that is it, in the numbers that for Mr. Jordan's, they're all slightly different. But there are 6 units with exactly the same square footage per the builder plan.
And those are 11 and 12.
11, 12, 2 and 3, and 6 and 7.
Okay.
We have the exact same square footage.
And if they are exactly the same size, the exact same age, then they should all be assessed at exactly the same value, but different units have different,
Footprints.
and they have different attributes too.
Yeah.
Maybe they have some have formica, some have granite.
Right.
So that would change an assessment.
So
Did you have something else?
I do actually, I have 2 more points. In the
Yep.
last meeting, the lister said that it's not their duty to ensure that units that don't grieve are changed in the system, but that's actually not borne by the data. And if you look at the original assessed value versus the changed assessed value, even units that didn't grieve had a shift in what their value was. For example, unit 3 went down 6%, from the first to the second. And so I have appreciated that these units are about 45 years old, and for 44 years, they were all within $4,000 in lister value. While some have been improved slightly, I have a hard time believing that the value of these improvements is $150,000. And the changes that we have seen there. The other piece I wanted to point out was that it seemed that the value of the listing properties were done by the sales of just a few units originally. And when I read the wonderful handbook on property assessment prepared by our state tax office, they mentioned that if you have 4 properties, that's actually not enough. And that's the example they give, is that just having 4 properties. And here we had 3 properties for sale. And that's what the whole kind of idea of Norwich Mers went forward. And I, as a neighbor, sitting next to properties that are exactly the same, that are swung in value, $170,000 before they were $80,000 more, and now they're $70,000 less. And the next door unit is apparently worth 3 times as much. It makes our community a mess. And so just the arbitrariness of the numbers that are in exactly the same units right next door that are gonna sell within $20,000, $30,000 of each other. I agree that the unit value and condition are slightly different in the units, but I can't see the changes being as great as they have been. And the listers did change from the initial to the second, and they said that they didn't go for. So
Can we just clarify, when you say, things change between the initial and the second, what exactly do you mean by that?
in the new 2025 numbers,
Mm-hmm.
and then in the revised list, they changed. So my unit was reduced in price, Mickey and Margie's unit, that's on number 11. Number 12 was reduced in price. Number 2 was reduced by 43% in price, less than mine, before we were $4,000 before. And also number 3 that didn't grieve, his was reduced 6% as well. So I believe number 3 came to the informals, and that's where the change was made. And so, but a lot more people come to the informals than actually agree.
But the point is that you came out with the first number and then somewhere between that first number and the official appeals process, these numbers changed, whether it was through the, informals or formal grievances, what have you, but
Right,
that's
but
the point
the
we're trying to make.
statement that the listers cannot change an assessment.
Right.
They do not believe is accurate because we did not change number 3. It's entirely possible that KRT changed number 3.
As part of the
as
informal
part of the
process.
informal.
Okay,
Just
just trying to clarify.
yeah, and so, you know, we have one unit sitting next to itself, which one is worth $515,000 apparently, and the one right next door, exactly the same footprint, is valued at 306. So these numbers are just all over the place for places that are the same. And it just, you know, if your neighbors next door to each other and one of you is paying twice the tax, it changes the value of your unit, it changes how it works. And so we know that Norwich doesn't do multifamily housing. But we kind of made a mess of where we live. So that's my only point here, and all we're asking for is a system that makes sense. And like I said, for 45 years, we were all close, and now it's all over the map. I mean, it's like a drunken pig playing darts.
Did you have anything else, or is that what you wanted to say?
So those are them just that we did use it, but that was what I wanted to say.
Okay. Pam, did you have something to add?
This reappraisal was done by KRT. I believe they presented, in their comps, the fact that Norwich Meadows was undervalued in the previous, reappraisal done by their firm. That the values were somewhere around 50% of the remainder of the town. And so they, made corrections to these values to bring them in line with the sales that were calculated townwide, not just on 3 sales in Norwich Meadows.
Okay. At this point, I see no more raised hands. We are going to go into a deliberative session, and within 15 days, we will mail you our decision. Lily can also email that to you. And we are adjourned for now.
Thanks for your time, guys, and congratulations on finishing again.
Not yet.
We're not done yet.
Not yet.
I hear you.
That's right, March.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks again.
But we're getting there.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
So close.
And this was really complicated. I'm so easy to hear.
Mark is logging in right now.
Oh, he is?
Yes,
He's coming in on
he's
Zoom.
headed to the computer, fixed the fence, cows are in.
Thank you.
They caught the cows, fixed the fence.
Okay, so I don't have to be careful driving home?
No, you're good, but
Maybe I'll get it.
if we can just give him a minute, his wife said he's headed for the computer at the moment.
Gotcha. Okay.
Interesting that it worked out that he can actually be present.
I was driving along, was I Route 5 recently? And at some point, you're driving along Route 5 and 132 goes off to your left and you keep going. And there's that, I don't know what kind of retaining wall it is, that the cow fence is right along the wall. You know where I am?
Bogey's farm.
And yeah, the best ta-da!
Yay! Hi, Mark.
Are you with us? You're muted.
Hello,
He is unmuted and now he is there.
almost,
Okay.
almost. All right. Sorry to not be there.
No problem.
How are
Okay,
you guys?
we're good. We're gonna get going. It's
Great.
November 5th at 6:20, and we are hearing restarting the appeal from the Aquilas on parcel ID number 11-041.000. Suzanne, would you like to read the inspection report for the Aquila property?
I didn't write it, but
That's.
Here, yeah.
She's already got it up.
thanks. This is, inspection committee, Alex Manny, Lily Simon, Suzanne Leiter, and Robert Whittaker. Parcel ID 11-041-000. Two properties, 633 New Boston Road and 688 New Boston Road. The inspection of both properties was made on Tuesday, October 21st, 2025 at 4 p.m., accompanied by Mark Aquila, the appellant. No listers were present. The property at 633 New Boston Road could be described as a two-story wood frame contemporary on 2.9 acres. It's composed of 2 units. It has an asphalt roof with a combination of clapboard and composite faux stone siding, along with 2 separate wood decks and wood stairs to the main entry of the rental unit. The foundation and the basement floors of both units are poured concrete. The interior floors are a combination of wood and carpet. One rental unit has 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. The other unit has 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. The property at 688 New Boston Road is primarily a wood-sided ranch with an asphalt roof and a garage basement on 42.9 acres, including a pond. The basement floor is poured concrete. The house has 3 bedrooms, 1 full bath, and 2 3/4 baths. It has a 3-season porch under construction with windows and screens off the back of the house. There's a chicken coop and a detached storage shed, as well as an equipment enclosure.
Thank you. Does anybody on the BCA have questions for Mark and or Pam? No. Mark, do you have anything to add?
One quick question. When I heard that reading and I didn't get a chance to read it, it sounded like you said the siding at 633 New Boston Road was clapboard. It's vinyl. That's it. I don't know if you said vinyl clapboard or if you said wooden. I just didn't hear that.
Composite faux stone siding.
But we did say clapboard.
Yeah.
And then composite, so it's vinyl.
Okay,
Vinyl, yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
it's composite plastic bottom and then vinyl on the top. That's all.
okay. So we'll change the site inspection report.
Yep, that one.
Okay. Pam, do you have anything to add?
No.
I forgot on the previous ones, but we need to make a motion to approve the site inspection reports, changing the siding clapboard to vinyl. Motion to approve.
Could I also amend my name to only have 1 L in the middle?
Yes, you sure could.
I make a motion to amend siding to vinyl
And remove an L from the lease name.
and remove an L from the lease.
Would that be you seconding it?
I second that.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Mark, we are gonna adjourn this session and go into a deliberation. And within 15 days, you should get a decision mailed. Lily can also email it to you if you like.
That'd be great.
Okay, and so we're all set. You'll hear from us within 15 days. Well, something will be mailed within 15 days.
Okay, and that would just be what you just read me, or is that what you read me
That'll be
plus
the
something else?
decision, that'll be the decision that we make concerning your appeal.
Got it. Got it. Okay, great. Thank you.
Which will include a copy of that
Yeah,
site
yeah, yeah.
inspection report that we just read.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Great. Thank you. Sorry to change plans and not being in there in person. Thanks
No worries.
for Lily for
Well, thank you.
thank you for being flexible. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Bye.